Today we will be making pasta in Italian style. We will need 5 yolks. We ended up with such a thick lump of dough. Pay attention to the structure. Let's prepare 2 or 3 more pieces. We don't flip the salmon until a crust forms. Let it simmer for a couple of minutes and thicken. And garnish with a basil leaf. You're again on the Borisov TV channel, and I hope that the time since our last meeting has flown by unnoticed. As you understood from the title to this video, today we will be cooking pasta in Italian style. Not just simple, but with spinach. I think that people of about my age, and I'm over 30, remember how we used to make dumplings. The whole family sat down, cooked, and then ate these same dumplings for a week or 2. So, today's recipe, we will be cooking, and it can be used for the same purposes. That is, to sit the whole family and mold spinach pasta. I think it's very cool, and you watch the process and try to repeat it. Well, before we start, as tradition, I would ask you to check the subscription, hit the like button, and let's get cooking. Pasta seems like a simple dish, but it requires some observance of the loudest rules. I'll leave them in the comments, so just watch the process and look at the grams at the end or before you cook yourself. We take eggs, we only need the yolks. In such a simple way, we remove the whites. We will use it for confectionery purposes. And now we'll take the yolks. We understand that 1 yolk is about 20 grams for us. So, from 100 grams of product, we will need 5 yolks. The next ingredient is spinach. I took mini spinach, it is sold even in winter. You can, in turn, take frozen spinach, but before cooking, it needs to be thawed and squeezed out. We need 100 grams of spinach. Next, blend the spinach with the egg yolks in a loaded blender until completely smooth and homogeneous, with no large fragments remaining. To be continued. Everything is ready, taking only 1 minute. If you're going to use a stationary blender, don't leave for too long, because the friction will start to heat the mass, and it will affect the taste, color, and texture. Be careful. We will need 2 types of flour. The first one is from hard wheat varieties, especially for pasta, and this is regular white bread flour. We pour it directly onto the table and make such a mixture. We knead it with our hands, make a depression, and pour our mixture in. Now, with the help of a culinary spatula, we start mixing like this, forming the dough. We remove all the excess from the spatula. As soon as all the liquid ingredients have combined with the flour, put the spatula aside. And now we start kneading with our hands. Well, So friends, after 10 minutes we got such a thick lump of dough. I think that if you use a dough kneading machine, it will literally take 3 to 4 minutes. But for now, I'll work with my hands. Now we put it in the bag. And then into the fridge for at least an hour, but better for 2. 2 hours have passed, the dough is ready. And you know, I thought how good it is that I decided to treat myself and my family to real Italian pasta. And in this recipe I will be using a machine for rolling out the dough and ravioli, which I found on the Mega Market marketplace, which often helps me with preparations for the videos. We'll chop the onion and garlic. Chop the onion into small cubes. And how to chop any vegetables without cutting your fingers, you can look at the hint in the upper right corner. I explained in detail there how to handle a knife safely. Next is garlic. Let's take a couple of small cloves. We cut off all the unnecessary parts. We will grind it with such a device. I just don't like it when garlic, these fractions, stick to the knife. That's why we make everything very simple. The final ingredient for our sauce, which needs to be prepared, is red fish. I have trout. We're removing the skin. With a light hand movement, the skin was left without meat. We're cutting it into cubes about 1.5 centimeters each. Why did I choose this particular size? If the dough piece is slightly larger, it may not cook through. If it's slightly smaller, it will dry out quickly. We cut off a piece of dough. Pay attention to the structure. We slightly sprinkle with flour. Roll the dough in flour. Slightly bake. We fold it between the rollers at the widest distance and roll it out. We fold it in half and do the same thing. We reduce the thickness between the rollers and roll it out one more time. As a result, we get a thin and elastic sheet of dough. Let's prepare a couple more pieces. We ended up with 3 strips of dough. I put the rest in the fridge and we'll finish it tomorrow. Now I have a choice to make wide or narrow macaroni. By the way, please write in the comments what they are called. The wide ones are like fettuccine and the small ones, pay attention. With light hand movements, the pasta starts to take shape. You're already getting something, and roughly from the middle, I start to catch it with my hands, and everything works out for me. And because the dough is very thick, look, nothing slips. What do we do next? Into the same bowl and we pour out, remove all the excess and leave it on the sauces. We do the same with the remaining sheets of dough. As you can see, there is already a plywood and a hatch on the table. I'm setting it to high heat. I need to give our fish a good sear. Behind me, as you can see, the water is already boiling and I'm going to salt it now. And at the right moment for me, I'll tell you about it, we'll throw in the pasta. A little bit of olive oil, 10-15 grams. Next is the salmon. I think this much will be enough for me. We lightly roast it. We don't flip the salmon until a crust forms. The crust has formed, we add garlic and a little onion, lightly roasted. A little salt, throw the pasta into the water. Stir immediately. Add grated tomatoes to the fish. Freshly ground pepper, a little salt, a few basil leaves, literally 4 pieces. Tear it up with your hands and throw in the dill. Pour in 33%. Let them simmer for a couple of minutes and thicken. After 4 minutes, remove the pasta from the heat and transfer it to the sauce. Literally half a ladle of water from under the pasta. The final action. We drench all the pasta with sauce. Let it soak up as much flavor as possible. And literally in a couple of minutes, we will be ready to serve. We twirl the pasta on a fork. We transfer it to a plate and remove it. Pour the sauce over the fish pieces on top. Garnish with a basil leaf. I completely forgot to add a bit of freshly ground pepper on top, but that's up to taste. Well, I need to try what I ended up with. I'm taking a bit of pasta. By the way, the pasta doesn't stick at all, look. We roll it on the fork like in the best homes of Paris and London. There's texture, there's a light aroma of spinach, and a fishy taste. Everything as I love. Well, before I go to finish this wonderful dish, I say goodbye to you. I thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video if someone hasn't done it yet, share it with your friends, and don't be afraid to experiment.